What's up, guys? My name is Gabriel. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Noise. This is our first video series ever. We're going to take the time to walk through the product, explain some of the reasons we're doing things, and most importantly, try to put an answer to the question of, why are we building Noise? What is the whole point of this? I know a lot of you are excited about where we're going, but I think this is the best way I could think of to make it all clear for you guys. So the biggest mission we had when we started Noise was we wanted to change the way people can discover culture. And that's at a global scale. I think we've come to this conclusion that the biggest risk with social media and the AI acceleration of content and the clipping campaigns and the coordinated social media campaigns and what have you, the biggest risk of all of this is that we primarily consume our content and our culture through the feed. And if that feed begins to narrow more and more over the years in terms of what we're seeing is being paid for by somebody with an agenda, or it's an advertisement in disguise, and this trend that we feel we're all sharing in this moment is really also being paid for, I think there's problems with us being able to naturally discover culture. And that's the most important reason we can possibly think of for why we're building Noise. It has to be important because discovery is one of the greatest joys in life. That moment you go to a store and you find a poster you really like, or a street vendor who's selling maybe an old screenwriting journal of a favorite movie you have, or you find a new industry that you really care about, or a new technology. Those things bring us little tiny micro joys over time. And it's going to be extremely important that we continue to build tools that allow curation, that allow discovery of culture, accessible to everybody. And so Noise is pretty much our best shot at building something like that at a global scale. Okay, so this brings us to the question, some of you have gone to Noise.xyz, you've used the product, and the question is, where do we go from here? What is the product today? And the thoughts that I've always had is we felt access to markets that haven't existed before would be the best way of getting people around the world to basically help value trends and help tell everybody else what is worth paying attention to. We've never really strayed from that vision, but we have had to make changes as we put products out there and had to iterate more and more, and did the heavy work of actually building something that hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people can use at any given point in time. So Noise today is a place for incentivized curation and access to markets that have never existed before. So when you land on the Discover page, you'll see a list of images in a grid that might represent trends, topics, or brands that you're familiar with. So the community curated section is a list of trends that people from our own community, our own users, have decided are worth putting onto the platform. So you'll see some things like blind boxes, IRL, continuous glucose monitoring. We didn't really know how to start these markets, so they all started at a relevance of 5, and then you'll see how the community has subsequently valued them from there. So I believe right now IRL is considered the most important trend on Noise and something that we should all be paying attention to. And this is actually interesting because it really correlates with the year-to-date success of all the live entertainment stocks like Sphere, like AMC, and Live Nation. So now jumping over to the post feed, this is something we actually never thought we would be doing, but here we are doing it. The reason that we decided to ship a feed was we wanted to test whether we had the funnel of information wrong about how people naturally think about trends. Now, what I mean by that is, we started with this grid where you would see a keyword such as obsession, the movie. And then from there, you would click into that and get all of this context about Obsession as a movie and how it's been the highest grossing film in a very, very long time. But what seems more natural and what we wanted to test was whether you need the context first, you need the headline, you need that piece of news, or you need that piece of commentary in order to naturally come down to a keyword that might be interesting. We felt the post feed was a great way to experiment doing this. And the first time we started thinking about trend pages as their own little micro communities. essentially, where you can post commentary, you can bring in news from other platforms, and you have this natural funnel into basically being able to access that market. Cool. So then when you land on the trend page, which is, to be honest, something that we really need to work on, and I don't think it's in a place to really be celebrating or patting ourselves on the back. It's been difficult, but essentially this is the community page and the place for people to access markets if you're in an available jurisdiction. So the way it works is each trend page has a relevance number, and you'll see that by our signature degree symbol up top. And the way that this number is computed is basically purely by community valuation. So people longing and shorting coming to a specific price in the order book for the mid price, and the relevance is basically a smoothing function over that. In other words, it takes a little bit of the volatility out of the actual order book. So this is the market that a lot of people have access to, and a lot of people have enjoyed since we first started Noise. But we really do want to flesh this out and make it feel more information rich and something Noise can do that nobody else can do, because we have a lot of ideas about what the trend pages should look like, what they should feel like. We just need constant iteration and feedback to get it there. If you've been following Noise for a while and you've been following me, you've probably heard me say, we want to keep passing on the keys to the kingdom to the community. And we want to bring the community more and more into the platform, into the product. And I really mean those things. There is a specific product we want to roll out very, very soon here that is going to be exactly that. And we believe it's going to create a new job title in the world for people who have taste, or who have niche interests, who feel that they're always early to things, or that they have a specific intuition about what ends up being relevant to the broader community or the broader world. So we're very, very excited about this. More updates to come on where this goes, but we're very, very excited to start inviting a few of our most engaged users to start beta testing it. That wraps up the very first, I don't know what we're calling these quite yet, but the Noise video series. Please give feedback. We're paying attention to everything you guys say in the Discord. It's how we make the product better, and looking forward to doing more and more of these and having you guys come along with the Noise journey. This is always day one. So we have a long, very long journey ahead. So let's do it.